afraid of?
Me. I've been dubbed many names by many people. A ruler, a conqueror. Some of us. New worlds meant only one thing: new lands to be conquered. Each variant fighting to preserve their universe and annihilate.
When Kang the Conqueror inevitably appears on the big screen, he will automatically shoulder the expectations levied by avid fans from all around the world. Emerging from the shadow of the Mad Titan and forced to live up to Marvel's last great foe, Kang the Conqueror's development and presentation as a formidable antagonist to the Avengers has a lot to live up to. One advantage that Kang has over the rest of the Marvel pantheon, though, is an incredibly versatile diversity of potential performances and interpretations of the character, as each Kang comes from a different point in the multiverse and is forged by their own respective experiences and home worlds. This has left many to wonder which iteration of Kang we can expect from his first appearance in a feature film, seeing as the character has an array of different compelling variants to choose from. Recently, though, news has surfaced that might help us to identify which type of Kang variant this is that will appear in Ant-Man Quantumania, and may prove to be one of the dangerous we could see in the MCU. So, stick with us today, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, and let's discuss what we can expect from this specific iteration of Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, as well as which skill sets he will default to throughout the course of the film. This version of Kang has been described as, quote, a warrior version, and this comes directly from Jonathan Majors, as well as his strength and conditioning coach, Jamie Sawyer. While it hasn't been confirmed as to exactly which variant of Kang we will be seeing specifically, this gives us further insight into this particular Kang's approach to conquest. For months now, Sawyer has been responsible for training Majors in the different physical attributes that will be required for this role. And what we know about this training process could help us paint a more accurate image of what this Kang will look like, despite not knowing which comic line this takes influence from. Sawyer is on record of stating that they are prioritizing proper MMA and boxing form over the aesthetic of the more silver screen fights, hinting that this will be a brutally grounded version of the Conqueror, who has, quote, developed every type of combat skill known. The full quote goes as follows: he is the warrior version of Kang, so there was a focus on what that warrior would look like who's been around through the ages and has developed every type of combat skill. It was about making him look like an imposing figure. If this is the case, then we can safely deduce that this version will be much more personally involved in his own conquests and fight sequences, most likely employing a level of veracity and realism that we haven't seen much from before. A myriad of Kang variants seem to rely on their technology and their armada of gadgetry and weapons, sitting back and letting their tech speak for itself as the primary driving force of these conquests. But this Kang seems to be different. While these tech-based variants certainly are formidable, seeing a version engage in one-on-one combat with Scott Lang and his associates would separate Kang's capabilities from that of his gear, showing us exactly why he himself is a threat and not hiding behind his weaponry. That is not to say that he won't be armed with incredibly advanced armaments, as this is normal for most Kang variants, but it illustrates that even when unarmed and separated from his weapons, Kang is still a menace and an absolute force to be reckoned with. On top of this, it was also revealed that this variant of Kang will be telekinetically adept, allowing him to manipulate the physical world with just his mind. As of now, we don't know if this telekinesis is an actual superpower ingrained into his very DNA, or if this is a product of his technology, but this still poses another major challenge against Ant-Man and his team. We know that Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne are both adept in physical combat, but despite their talents, they are far from the most gifted that the MCU has to offer. They have been routinely outmatched and outperformed by the likes of Cap and Bucky, who are artificially enhanced super soldiers, and even human shield operatives like Natasha and Clint have been shown to be on par with them. Regular human fighters routinely outperform Scott and Hope, but it's likely that the unity between their skills and their suits that make Ant-Man and the Wasp so dangerous, not their simple martial skill alone. This means that when Kang arrives to show off his physical combat capabilities, he will not do so against the most agile and gifted fighters that the MCU has to offer. As of now, we don't know if Kang can be contended with the likes of super soldiers such as Captain America in one-on-one combat, but there is evidence to support that he just might be able to. In the leaked trailer for Quantumania, Kang hears that Scott Lang is an Avenger, and asks if he has killed him before because they all tend to blur together over time, indicating that this Kang has come across multiple Avenger variants during his career of conquests. If we take a look at the comics, we can reasonably predict which characters were most likely present based on the most popular lineups throughout the years, and we may be able to break down or at least guess which Avengers Kang may have faced and killed. For instance, Captain America is often regarded as the de facto leader in most iterations from across the comic lines in multiple universes. And if we are to believe that different comic arcs will lend influence to different timelines, then it stands to reason that this is very likely carries over into the MCU, and he is likely a very popular multiversal leader of the Avengers. While we don't have ironclad confirmation, it's not unreasonable to believe that this variant of Kang has fought several iterations of Steve Rogers, as Captain America leads his own rosters of Avengers against the time-hopping warlord, and if he has killed Captain America several times over, then there seems to be little hope that Scott can match this version of Kang. It's also reasonable to assume that Kang is artificially enhanced as well, even if he's not an outright super soldier. This Kang seems to relish in the thrill of physical combat, conditioning himself to reach the limits of what his human body is capable of, as again, Kang in his core is a human. He also, though, has access to the most advanced performance-enhancing procedures that the multiverse itself has to offer, not just relegated to the MCU, altering his physiology and pushing his physical body past the threshold of human conditioning. While again this hasn't been confirmed, it's a reasonable deduction to make given how long this variant seems to have been in the business of conquest. With these reports though, we're beginning to get a clearer picture and a clearer vision of the true skill set and powers of this Kang. We know according to various leaks that he's very technologically gifted, as well as again has been versed in nearly every combat skill not only known to the MCU but the multiverse itself, as well as the fact that he may have been physically enhanced. This of course leads into the theory that he may be above par of the skill of Captain America, the greatest hand-to-hand fighter in all of the modern MCU, as well as the fact that he will have some affinity with telekinesis, though the extent of this power is currently unknown. What in the end this means is that this iteration of Kang the Conqueror and this version of Kang the Conqueror is one of the most fearsome combatants and fearsome enemies that the MCU has ever seen. But we'll have to wait till February to see the full might of this iteration of the great time-hopping Conqueror. As always, my friends, we'll be keeping you up to date with all of the new skill sets and the various variants of Kang that will be making their way into the MCU. So if you want to stay up to date with everything Marvel related, smash that subscribe button. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a great day.